On this episode, we are going to be covering the entire weekend of SummerSlam. I'm going to be covering my thoughts, what I thought of each individual match, even maybe where are these stories going to go. And at the end, we are also going to be covering what happened on Raw last night, including a big return for Big Cass and two more returns for the Women's Championship picture. All that and more in this episode. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Zigzag Wrestling Club. My name is Corbin, and thank you for joining me here today. We got a lot to cover. SummerSlam, for me personally, was just fantastic. I'm going to talk about this a little bit later. Night 2 of SummerSlam made me remember why I love wrestling so much. I don't tend to get emotional during things. Like the last movie I think I cried for, was like Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. Got a little bit teary in the new Spider-Man Brand New Day. That was a fantastic movie. But besides that, like A Dog's Purpose, which is like literally the saddest movie ever for any dog lover. But this really just reminded me like why I'm so attached to each character, and I'm just so attached to the product in general. And it was just like a breath of fresh air. But I'm going to kick it off with something that happened before SummerSlam. We're going to be talking about NXT. Just for a quick sec. Grayson Waller returns and drops a pipe bomb on NXT. Probably one of the best promos I've ever seen since I started watching again. This dude just like fries himself, the management. He talks about how maybe he's not politicking enough. Things of that nature. And man, Grayson Waller, he just brought the smoke. There's no other way to put it. He comes out and he starts talking about like, I spent the last 2 years mourning for a funeral, which is obviously talking about the New Day and how he was stuck in that just terrible situation. He talked about how he used to carry Austin Theory just around the entire locker room because he wasn't good on the mic, and just all these different moments throughout his promo, he was just spitting. And then, of course, he ends up wrapping it up by talking about, it's like, well, the NXT roster is soft. Like, I'm here to claim a title I've never gotten before. I genuinely hope he wins the NXT Men's Championship. I'm going to watch NXT, which I haven't watched in a long time. I'm watching it for Grayson Waller. That's the only reason I'm going to watch, because I'm a Grayson Waller enjoyer. If you guys listen to this podcast, 2 weeks ago, I think, I gave a little prediction of like, what should they do with Grayson Waller? Because I don't want him to get released. I don't want him to go to another company because like I don't watch other shows just because like I feel like it's a hassle enough to watch all of WWE. Not against any other show, but this is just the main one I kind of just like to focus on. But if he were to leave, like he would kind of just like disappear for me. And so I'm so happy he's getting this opportunity down on NXT. And along with that, I mean, if he comes out spitting this pipe bomb down on NXT, where does this lead for him? Because, like, I think the title is seriously going to end up going to him because he more than deserves it. He talked about how he just sits in catering and he tried to do the main event thing. And even he stopped even getting those matches. And then he kind of just spiraled out and talked about how maybe he's not politicking enough. And other people are getting opportunities and he's not. And he talks about like, the only thing I can control is getting into the best shape of my life, which if you guys follow him on Instagram, he consistently talks about that week in and week out. He's like, oh, me and Indy Hartwell, shout out Indy. She's one of my favorite women's wrestlers outside the WWE. And he's like, me and Indy, we just went for a 10-mile run, and he'll show his stats. He was like, yeah, we ran it at 6:30 pace, and like, dude just looks absolutely jacked. The only thing I would change about Grayson Waller, my brother, you gotta fire your barber. I do not like his haircut. He literally looks like a 7-year-old kid going in for picture day. It's so bad. But man, I'm so excited to see what he's gonna do. So that's the only thing we have before SummerSlam. And let's kick this off with a banger. SummerSlam was amazing. Kicking us off, Liv Morgan retains in an absolute banger. I think this stole the show. Night 1, this was without a doubt in my mind, the best match. I was glued to the TV 24/7 whenever these two were on the screen. Like sometimes during a match, I'll get a notification. I'll be like, oh, I'll text this person back. Keep watching. This match, it was like there was no one around me. There was nothing to interrupt me, and I was just fully dialed in on what was happening. This match just made me mad though, because we could have had matches like this for 100 days. Um, you know, you're only as good as your dancing partner, and I think Liv Morgan and Io Sky are the perfect partners for each other. Every time they have a match, it's incredible. But we could have been having these kind of matches. Liv Morgan has matches like this with literally anybody. Same with Io Sky. So why didn't we start up other feuds while Liv Morgan was quote unquote waiting for Stephanie Vaquer to return or waiting for someone else to join the fight? Like, we could have had this since WrestleMania, and the booking just didn't make it happen. But I'm really excited we got this match. That final segment between the two is amazing, where Liv goes for Oblivion, gets countered by Io Sky. Then she turns it into, I think, a code breaker. She goes up against the ropes, and then finally Liv Morgan hits the Oblivion. That final segment was just so action-packed, and that just represents the entire match as a whole, because they just freaking killed it. Non-stop energy, non-stop action. They had moments where they'd stop and they'd let the crowd build into it, which was great. But other than that, these two were just going at it. Fantastic. If we wanted to run this feud back once Io comes back, because I think she's maybe going to get a little bit of a break after this. So maybe we don't see her for about a month. But if we want to go ahead and run this back, I would be super appreciative. What a way to kick off SummerSlam. I want to quickly talk about the stage of SummerSlam. I thought it was freaking sick. I know that a lot of people don't like just like the big video boards, but it was like they put a giant WWE belt in, and like all the screens like usually had something different on it, and it was just giant. I've been so accustomed to like these really crappy PLE, like it's literally just like two big screens and then like the entranceway. I think I've just gotten so accustomed to those just sucking that whenever I saw this, I was like, wow, like this is really cool. Like they took time to figure out how to make this different than other pay-per-views. And I just wanted to point it out because I thought it was fantastic. Let's Go Solo chants reign through the stadium. Solo Sikoa, I think, officially is a babyface. Just because if you come out in your entrance and you're getting Let's Go Solo chants the entire match, and you're going to go into the match and you're going to restart the yeet and you're going to start yeeting on your own. I mean, like, come on. Come on. The people love Solo. They love where Solo at, baby. And he's just gotten so over this past like 2 weeks, which is so random because I've always been a Solo fan because I've always thought he was funny. I didn't get all like the bloodline stuff. So whenever I got to see him for the first time, he was just being like a meme, and he was like kind of this mafia boss type role, which, is whatever. But just knowing that we could have had this Solo for like 2 years is just like, really? Like we could have had this for 2 years, but I digress because we're at least getting it now. And he's just gotten so over. It's so cool to see. And then the tag team match, pretty solid, nothing insane. But of course, we get the ragtag team of LA Knight, Royce Keys, and Solo Sikoa picking up the win. Really solid match. Great spots at the match. Royce Keys with that like huge power slam off the top rope, kind of like a black hole slam type of thing. He did it with Jacob too last night in their street fight on Raw. And to end the match, LA Knight and Solo Sikoa hugged, which I thought was so funny, which I think is really like the initial like statement of Solo Sikoa is the babyface. He's now a babyface. He was kind of a tweener for a little while, but I think now it's kind of just official. Give Solo some gold at this point. Let him beat Baron Corbin for the US Championship, or even better, just go beat CM Punk. I want Solo Sikoa as any champion. He could beat Roman Reigns. That would be so sick if he came out and he beat up on Roman Reigns. But I think everybody's finally understanding what Solo's character is. He's serious, but he's also really goofy. It's such a fun dynamic to work with. But I can't believe that people hated that LA Knight and Solo Sokoa hugged. Um, People are like, well, you got to remember that these two hate each other. It's like, well, they obviously don't hate each other because they're on the same team at SummerSlam. But like, have y'all won anything ever? Like, I'm gonna share this story. There was someone I was on a bowling team with, my bowling team for high school. Whenever we went to state and we won state, I ended up like hugging this person just because of like pure excitement that we had won, even though I don't really even like this person at all. Like throughout the season, like I wouldn't beef with her. She was just like mad at the world 24/7. And, I would kind of just like be whatever towards her because like she's annoying. I try to be as nice as I could, but also at the same time, I'm sitting there and I'm just like, I don't really like you at all. But whenever you win on a big stage in a big moment, that you're not thinking about like, oh man, I hate this person. Like we're supposed to be rivals. It's like no, it's like we're all gonna share this moment together. I feel like that's kind of what the hug was like personally, and this was just like the best outcome for me. Solo, LA, and Royce win. They keep up their momentum. Solo goes babyface. Perfect. If you guys wanted to check this out, Carmelo Hayes actually made his way to the SummerSlam card. Did you guys see this? It was just like WrestleMania because I made the exact same joke. He appeared on Cody's Wheatley vodka commercial again. Go Carmelo. I love how we're not using your really good in-ring technician and superstar. It's great. It's really awesome. But I just thought it was funny that everyone's talking about, oh, Carmelo Hayes snubbed again, me as well. And then I see him on the Cody's Wheatley vodka commercial. It's like, oh, fantastic. Nick Aldis is yoked. Let's talk about this, man. I have never seen him without the suit on, and he looks big underneath the suit. But I didn't think he'd be that big. And I think he looked spectacular. Fans chanting, you still got it and stuff like that. Yes, he does still have it. He was on an interview with Chris Van Vliet, and he was like genuinely emotional, and it's like he seemed concerned that like he wasn't gonna be the same as like whenever people remember him as Magnus wrestling, and he was afraid he was gonna let the people down and all this stuff. Like, brother, I don't think you let anyone down. Inevitably, he taps out to Gunther, but it was a great match. They had a lot of fun back and forths. Like Nick Aldis put up a really good fight, like in comparison to what other people have done, and he's just a general manager. He gets reinstated as a general manager, which I think is fine. But also, like, I really like Nick Aldis as a wrestler. The crowd really got behind Nick during the match, and then at the end, I was sitting there and I was like, man, his wife, who's his wife? Sitting there and I was like, well, she's really attractive. Do I like follow her on Instagram or something? Yeah, I know why I knew who it was. His wife is Mickey James, like one of the greatest like women superstars of all time. What a pull for Nick. I just thought it was funny that I never knew that they were married and have a son, and his wife is Mickey James. Like what a random thing like to stumble upon. I don't even know how to say it, but I really enjoyed the match. Thought Nick Aldis looked great, and I'm really excited to see what he does in the future if he ever does eventually want to turn back and wrestle another match. Fatal Influence beats the Bellas and Paige. Thank goodness. Praise God. I did not want the Bellas and Paige to win just because like I wanted a breakup between them, and I just wanted the young girls to get the push they deserved. Fatal Influence looked great, but this match was not it. And, you're only as good as your partner you're dancing with, like I just said. And the Bellas, I'm just gonna say the Bellas. I'm gonna be mean. They looked terrible. And I do understand that Brie got hurt during the match, which really sucks. Like that really sucks because they were obviously getting ready to start a program, but she got hurt towards the end of the match. This match was 7 minutes, and it was about maybe 30 seconds up to a minute of actual quality wrestling. Did not enjoy this match whatsoever. But after the match, which is probably the only part that people really remember, is the Bellas turn on Paige. Fantastic. Brie is hurt, so obviously we're just going to be running Nikki Bella versus Paige for a long time because Brie looks like she maybe tore something in her shoulder, which really sucks. Wishing her the best, but like halfway, a little more than halfway through the match, I saw her grabbing the shoulder, and I was like, oh, is this like a thing where she's trying to like play it off? And no, she is definitely hurt, unless they're trying to play some angle, but if they are, like, that's pretty insane because she was holding her shoulder like the entire time, like holding her arm up and like mostly doing kicks and stuff like that. So I wonder where it's going to go between Paige and Nikki. I don't think they can run this feud like forever until Brie gets back, which is maybe the plan that they want to go with. So I think they'd maybe just leave them two off TV, but I don't think you really want to do that either. So I just want to see where this goes. CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes. Very slow and methodical match. Like, not like my least favorite match ever. Not my favorite. It was just very slow and like, trying to get the fans into it. But the problem with the crowd in Minnesota was like, I don't think it was that they were bad. It's like the roof was open. So a lot of times if they were like yelling something, you couldn't really hear them. But if you're a good enough crowd, you should be able to yell through the roof, and the cameras will still like pick up on the noise. So not bashing that Minnesota crowd. I think they were fine, but this match to me was just very odd because I thought we were gonna come out like of the gates and just get like this like bloody bash, like no holds barred kind of match, and it was like just very slow. And then CM Punk maybe performed like the worst moonsault I've ever seen, literally ever. Stick to the ground, Unk. And then of course Apex Predator, Randy Orton returns, RKO's Cody, and Punk retains. I like this because we are now taking Cody Rhodes out of the title scene and they can feud without the title. That's a feud that does not need the title on it to make it draw eyes, if you will. Punk can go on. He can challenge some other people. That's a story. Randy versus Cody, that's another story. We can run it back because they massively messed up at WrestleMania this year with the whole Pat McAfee stuff. So I'm really excited he returned and RKO'd Cody so them two can run it back. Brock Lesnar versus Oba Femi, pretty solid. The only problem I have with this match is like this didn't feel like a Hell in a Cell match. Like they didn't get out like all the props and the toys and the toolbox and like they didn't get out all this stuff. They literally threw each other into the cage like one time, and then they had the table spot as well where I think Oba ran Brock through a table kind of into the cage. That was pretty much it. The rest of this was just in the ring. Chairs got involved, sure. I think other than that, that was kind of just it. Though, best spot of the match obviously was Brock Lesnar exposing the wood, hitting the tombstone pile driver, paying respects to Undertaker. That was an insane moment. But Oba kicked out at like, it was almost less than 2. It was literally like 1, 2 kick out. Like I was like, whoa, we could maybe like tease the crowd a little bit and maybe make it go towards 3 just a little bit more. But then Oba just wins with a fall from grace, like pretty much immediately after that. So the match like was good, but this could have been like a last man standing match or a TLC match. Like the Hell in a Cell aspect was not utilized to what I thought it was going to be. I honestly thought that one of them was going to end up going through like the cage. That didn't happen. But for me, like Brock doesn't seem done. It got to a point where I thought Brock was gonna like pick up the mic like he did and be like, "Hey guys, like this is it," and he was gonna take his stuff off. That didn't happen. He doesn't seem done. Like it wasn't like a full retiring thing. Like I felt like he was gonna retire here because it seemed perfect. He was gonna finally lose his streak of winning all of his Hell in a Cell matches, and then he was gonna take off his gloves, leave him in the ring, take off his boots, and then instead he kind of just gave some kind words to Obafemi, which was cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But I just wonder, like, is he gonna show up again at some point? I don't know. But for night one, I do just want to shout out, favorite match of the night was Liv Morgan versus Io Sky. Absolute show stealer, and those two should be super proud of themselves. Moving over to night two, let's just start this right off. Sammy versus Finn turns into a three-way match because Gunther is added. And then Nick Aldis comes out and he goes, actually, no, we got one more person. And we get a returning Kevin Owens. I flipped. I absolutely flipped my shit. I'm not going to lie to you. I had totally just forgot that KO was even like potentially going to return. Like that's just something I had never even thought about on the lead up. 17 months. 17 months he's been out and he is finally back. I'm so excited for him. And then of course, fantastic match. I do wish they had more time. Everyone in this match as a whole. I thought Gunther was maybe going to steal it at one point. Finn Balor, I thought was going to get it. He had that coup de grace that landed, I think, onto Sammy and Gunther, but that got broken up. So many great moments throughout this match as well. But even though it was shorter, it was still a very quality match, obviously. If you put Sammy, Finn, Gunther, and Kevin Owens into the same match, it literally just can't be bad. It cannot be bad. I had a lot of fun with it. And of course, Kevin Owens picks up the win. I like the great booming return for Kevin Owens coming out. He gets that huge pop, comes over, wins the match. And then now he's the number one contender to face CM Punk. Do I think KO could beat CM Punk? It wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me if at Money in a Bank, they ended up wanting to do Kevin Owens versus CM Punk and Kevin Owens won. I think that would actually be really cool and much deserved because he's obviously been working his ass off. And if you listen to his interview after SummerSlam, he was just talking about all the ups and downs and the dark moments. And if you can push through all of that, come back and you look like you never left. He had that swanton off the top rope to the outside, another swanton to Gunther, stunners to everyone in the match, pins Sammy. Like, if he went on to beat CM Punk, I would be very happy. But again, as a Finn Balor fan, I am very upset because I really wanted Finn to win this. But what do? He's gonna have his moment sometime within the year. I hope. And Finn and Kevin Owens do have a long history together. So I think that they could obviously run a feud between them two if KO ended up actually winning the title. But fantastic moment all around. Hell yeah. Trick versus Baron Corbin. Let's get into this. This was like a fun match. This is how I describe some movies. It's a fun movie and you like the movie, but it wasn't a good movie. That was this match for me. This wasn't the greatest match, wasn't super technical. It had like the fun yachty spot going through the table and maybe not the greatest match ever. Definitely a short match as well. But it was like a fun watch. And then we get like to the end of days. Baron Corbin just wins the US Championship. I'm hyped for that. I'm going to be honest. I like Baron Corbin. And I think that Trick Williams, like I said last week, needs to go to the main title scene. Like, they don't need him in the US Championship uh, area anymore. So Baron Corbin winning the championship lets Trick Williams go up, and now Baron can do his thing. Like, where does his run go? Like, I'm very interested to see what they end up doing, because he's a pretty solid heel from what I'm getting from the fans. Like, people were excited he won, but I think on SmackDown, whenever he comes out, people are going to be booing pretty heavily, because he's a pretty well established heel at this point. Where does he go? Like, I think he's gonna feud with people like, obviously, Carmelo Hayes. Ilya Dragunov might get back in the mix. Maybe Zack Ryder will be there as well. Sorry, Matt Cardona. um, so I hope they give him like a plentiful run. Doesn't need to be forever. Like, maybe 120 days ish, I think would be pretty good. Maybe he drops it at Money in the Bank. Maybe a little bit after. I think that's, what is that? War Games, not Elimination Chamber. Geez, Survivor Series. So I do think that this could be a fun reign if they allow it to be a fun reign. Does this lead to Trick Willie in the Bank? Brother, it might. It might. I'm a Dom stan, I'm a Finn stan. I want them to win Money in the Bank, but Trick Williams might just be the perfect choice. He might be. Him and Dominic, I think, are the two best choices, because it's like, now that Trick Willie has dropped the title, Dominic has no direction, obviously. These two are like the two best choices to like finally push them into the main event scene, if you know what I'm saying. And I think both of them running around with the briefcase would be fantastic. I think this could potentially be Trick Williams' year, though. He's the favorite for a reason, and it would make sense to me if he won Money in the Bank. So good on him if he ends up winning it. The women's interim WWE Championship ladder match. I'm not calling it interim, by the way. I like the interim championship stuff, but I'm just going to keep calling it Women's Championship. Tons of great spots during this match. I wish they had more time. And I know I keep saying like, oh, like this match was short. Oh, I wish it had more time. That's not me saying that like every single match should have been like longer. I'm saying that this match I wish went for longer because I enjoyed it more. And so Tiffany Stratton and Lash had this incredible spot. The power bomb onto the ladder while they were like standing up on the top rope. Tiffy sold it like $1 million. And I'm going to walk you through my emotional state here. I'm just going to walk you through this. And remember whenever I said that I don't typically cry at stuff? Get ready. We have that moment where Chelsea walks up to the ladder and everyone's down on the ground, and she kind of not really turns on Tiffy, but she's like, well, this is my chance. And she shoves the ladder over. Tiffy does like a diving swanton to the outside, takes everybody out. And I like stood up out of my seat and I had tears welling in my eyes. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is it. Like this is literally it. That was like the last big spot. Even at that point, it didn't even really feel like a short match, just because they had been through so many spots already. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. She starts climbing the ladder. I hear people start booing, and I'm like, yeah, B-Fab Meechin, right? Here they come, B-Fab and Meechin coming in to ruin my day. And I sat back down. I was like, oh. And so of course, everyone's up there on the ladders again. And Chelsea is laying upside down, tangled into the ladder, and she's like laying there just dead. Everybody's up on the ladders. Tiffy and Lash take each other out. Charlotte and Jade take each other out. And there's one person left in the ring. And this Minnesota arena lost their minds. And so did I. The camera pans over, and you see everybody in the crowd stand up, and you see Chelsea's eyes like open, like super wide, and she starts moving her head around, and literally the place like popped, and they popped again, and then she started sitting up, and the place got even louder. And this is whenever, of course, I stood up out of my seat. I had tears well up in my eyes, and she climbs the ladder, and every step she took up that ladder, people just started getting louder and louder and louder. And for me, this was just such an amazing moment that I'm never gonna forget for the rest of my life. And she stands up on that ladder, and Chelsea Green is your new WWE Women's Champion. Dude, I'm even like getting teary eyed now. And the reason for me that I'm like crying these tears of joy, like I cried multiple times because every time I rewatched her, that moment where she opens her eyes and she sits up and everybody freaks out. It's like I don't ever really get that. Funny enough, I'm gonna make this about me right now because it's my podcast, but I always end up choosing people like in favorite sports, favorite anything. I always pick the people who never win. Never win the big one at least. Like Formula One's a great example. I started watching in like 2020 and not consistently. And 2021, like I really started watching. And I picked my favorite driver to be Pierre Gasly, which if you guys don't know, he's basically consistently always on the most mediocre teams ever. He's a great driver. He missed out on some opportunities at a really good team at one point, and he's kind of just never climbed back to that moment. He has one race win, and I never got to see it because I hadn't started watching yet because it was in 2020 whenever I wasn't watching consistently. And so I've never seen him like win a race. I've seen him get a podium, and I've just been absolutely like freaking out about that. But even then, like that's not like the big moment. I've Packers fan, always been a Packers fan. They've never won a Super Bowl whenever, I've been watching the NFL. So that's another one. Like pretty much any sport I pick to follow, like the team never gets the big one. Um and so to see someone that I just instantly latched onto whenever I started watching wrestling. I started watching and I was like, man, this Dominic guy's awesome. And then I started watching SmackDown. I was like, this like Karen character, Chelsea Green, dude, she's fantastic. She's so funny. And she's such a Karen. I thought she was great. And she has the, she's the hot mess with the shh, and she's just such a diva. And you gotta just love the character. And then she wins the U.S. title, and I was like, oh man, that's awesome. Like, salute, pledge your allegiance to Chelsea Green. And I've always been the biggest fan of her work, and she's just so damn good at everything she does. And whenever I heard Michael Hayes, you guys know where this is going. Whenever I heard Michael Hayes say that Chelsea Green is never going to be the Tiffany Strattons. She's never going to be the Charlotte Flairs or these kind of people. She's never going to get to that height. She's just supposed to make those people look good, and she's supposed to stay in the mid card. He legitimately said all this stuff. And then to see Chelsea Green pull down that title, it was like all of like her hard work obviously had finally paid off for her. But also as a fan, like all the times I've been like, man, like this might be Chelsea's moment. Not yet. Ooh, Money in the Bank, Chelsea. Not yet. She finally got her moment. And so seeing someone that I loved ever since I started watching finally get her moment and win was just so uplifting for me. And I'm so excited to see what they do. I hope they don't just do this thing where it's like, oh, boom, she loses it on SmackDown. But the thing is, if that happens and maybe she'd win Money in the Bank, I saw reports that they want to do this thing where they have Rhea versus Chelsea at Money in the Bank. I've done it again. At Money in the Bank. And whenever that happens, like she can't win the Money in the Bank briefcase. So like that kind of sucks. But again, if she's just holding a championship at all, especially the women's championship, I don't care. That's someone that more than deserves this moment, and I'm super excited for her and the fans that support her. I actually just made a custom Chelsea Green t-shirt because I ordered the one on WWE Shop, but it says interim on it. So what I did was I went on and I made like a little custom photo with like her holding the belt, and she has, I think, the AAA mixed tag moment on it. Do you know what? I'm just going to pull it up for you guys. I'm just going to pull it up and show you. And if it looks terrible, I don't care. It's just got all of her iconic moments on it. If this actually focuses, and maybe I'll even turn the brightness down so you can actually see it. So we have the Chelsea green down there on the bottom, and then it says hot mess and shish up on the top, and she's got the AAA mix tag, and it's her holding the championship belt in the middle, and then the super iconic photo of her with the U.S. championship, and just I'm gonna say it, in a dump truck. Let's just be honest, because that's what everybody knows the photo for. And then, of course, a photo of her saluting because, pledge your allegiance to Chelsea Green. So I went and got that ordered. I got a custom, like, whitewash t-shirt with that on it. And hopefully it comes out and it looks like a little bit, like, dampened, because that's a really bright photo to put on a shirt like that. But we'll just see how it looks whenever it comes out. Whenever I get it, I will be wearing it on this podcast. Don't you worry. But I just haven't been that excited about an event or a sport or anything like that in such a long time. And I'm just so happy for Chelsea Green. Human Monies on a pole match was interesting. And I want to shout out Wade Barrett because he said that's Toritohausen. If you guys know, the main mini housing that they use is actually El Torito from Los Matadores. If you guys are a real OG and you know just a little bit of ball knowledge, you remember them. They were some of my favorites. And El Torito's fantastic. JD sells the hell out of a DDT and a Hurricane Rana. I do like that they let Dom and Danhausen wrestle like a little bit before they got into the gimmicky stuff. Like, I thought it was an okay mix. My favorite moment of the entire match, legitimately, JD giving that hilariously powerful power bomb or power slam to that Minihausen. It was like a Michinoku driver type thing. Dude, he slammed the piss out of that guy, and it was so funny. The ending of the match, though, just so forgettable. Like, this has happened in every Danhausen match. Dom's getting ready to win. You are cursed. Thing goes off. Dom falls to the ground. And I'm not saying I hate it, because it's all funny. But, like, Danhausen wins. Cool. The AAA Mega Champion losing to Danhausen, like, kind of sucks. But also, at this point, I just think that what happens in two brands are like two different canon events. It's two different storylines. It's two multiverses. If you want to get into that Marvel stuff, there's AAA Dom, who has aura and beats everyone, and you have Raw WWE Dom, who loses all the time now, which I'm not complaining, because I do like the rise of Dominic Mysterio. Like, I liked watching him lose every single match. He gets a title opportunity for the IC Championship, and he wins at WrestleMania, and he goes on to have one of my favorite title reigns ever as Intercontinental Champion. And what does this do for the Judgment Day? Like, I think it almost felt like a burial for JD and Dominic. I'm not saying it is, but I'm just saying it's kind of what it felt like. But I also feel like Dom can lose this match, turn around, and win almost any match the next night. Like, if he were to lose to Danhausen and he would have turned around and been like, all right, Roman, we're having a match on Raw, I would have been like, yeah, it makes sense. He's not going to win, but it makes sense that this overconfident, cocky dude just comes out and is like, yo, Roman, I know I just lost to Danhausen. I don't even care. Let's run it for the belt. And everyone would have been fine with it because heel, babyface, checks out. I think they're maybe trying to like revive the Judgment Day or something like that. Like, almost everybody has gold except for Roxanne and JD McDonough, which I've been seeing stuff online that's saying let them go after the AAA mixed tag championships and let them win that. That would be sick, because then everybody in the Judgment Day has some gold. That would be pretty cool. But I just don't really know what's next for Dominic, because he kind of just has no direction at the moment. What's next for Danhausen? He still has his entire story with Kit Wilson and The Miz going on, so he's just going to go right back to that. So, Chad Gable and Penta put on an all-time banger. It makes me so happy to see Chad Gable pick up the win. This match I knew was going to be just so good. There was no reality where this ended up being a bad match. You put Penta, who's an absolute dog, in the ring with Chad Gable, who's an absolute dog, technical wizard. Chad Gable is, and Penta's just so entertaining. It was cool to see Chad pick up the win. He burst into tears like the second the match was over, and it just made me, again, so proud to see someone that has obviously worked super hard to get where they are, and he just finally accomplishes like his biggest goal. He's been so close to that IC championship, against Gunther, against, I believe, maybe who else did he face? He faced Gunther a few different times. I think even someone like a Jey Uso he ended up losing to, or someone like that. Like, literally, he has been through the ringer. After 10 years, he finally gets his moment in his hometown, and they got me again. Maybe a few tears were in the eyes whenever I watched Chad Gable win for the second time in a night, just because, again, Chad Gable's someone that I kind of latched onto as well. Not as much as Chelsea, but someone I really latched onto because of how good he was in the ring. And it seemed like he maybe wasn't getting a fair shake. And I saw that match with him and Hijo del Vikingo whenever he went down and wrestled him. And I had already liked him at that point. And then I watched that match and I'm like, this dude's got something special. And then obviously he puts on, and I'm just going to say it now, it's the match of the year. It's maybe the match of the freaking decade, because Chad Gable as OG El Grande Americano versus El Grande Americano was one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. And then he finally gets his moment where he beats Penta. Super proud of him, super happy for him, and this was just such a great watch for me in general. Seth's entrance was sick as hell. Main event of night 2. It comes out and it's the Sierra Hotel. Oh, wait, I can do it like LA Knight. Sierra Hotel, India, Echo, Lima, Delta. Shield. And then whenever it's saying Shield, like the screen like wipes down, it goes Shield, and it like dies down, and then it starts playing Seth's theme song. And so they had like a Seth Rollins like dummy almost. Like it was the camera was so far out you couldn't really see who it was. I mean, it had the same build, obviously, and whoever it was stepped off to the side, and then Seth Rollins comes out to his music, and he's got the big colors on and the crazy outfit, and Seth Rollins was just doing Seth Rollins things, let's be honest. And this entrance was so cool, probably one of my favorites of the entire weekend. I think it probably was my favorite. And of course, he comes out wearing the mask that's super iconic that they were told not to wear whenever they walked through the crowd, like the skull masks, and they did it anyways, and it's super iconic, and they all got fined for it, and he wore that out. This match, man, talk about perfect dance partners. These two can't put on a bad match together. They can't put on a bad match anyways. And they had so many spots during this match where, they had the Shield powerbomb through the table, Reigns to Rollins, and then they switched it around and Rollins gave Roman a powerbomb through the table as well. So many Easter eggs. The Shield Easter eggs coming in and out of this match, I thought was great. And it wasn't like it was overdone. They were doing their own things and their normal moves, and then they'd throw in things like the Psycho Clothesline. I don't remember what he used to call it, but when you reel back into the ropes and you come forward and give that wicked clothesline like Dean used to do. And then Seth sets up for a Dirty Deeds on Roman, and Roman reverses it and gives him Dirty Deeds, which is Dean Ambrose's original finishers, from people who don't know. And Roman retains in probably one of the best matches I've seen ever. And it might be a little bit of like nostalgia cheese because I'm such a big fan of the Shield, and that's what I grew up with. And that was the dominant faction whenever I was watching, whenever I was little. But I could have watched these two fight for hours. And the storytelling during this match was just unbelievable. Like, Roman picking up the chair that Seth was going to hit him with. And also, Seth hesitated. he like hesitated, and then that's why he got punched. And then Roman picks it up, and finally he's like, it's not worth it, and he throws the chair down, and he took the high road, and he ended up winning by himself. It was so satisfying to see this story just finally come to a close. And I'm sure we're going to see these two back at it again in some sort of way. But if this is it, what a way to finish the story. And then after the match, I cried again because they come together and they're laying in like opposite corners, like facing towards each other, and they're just staring at each other. And the whole place is silent, by the way. The whole place is silent, just watching what they're going to do. And they stand up, and Roman stands up, walks towards Seth, and he puts his fist out. And Seth grabs the mask that he originally walked out with, which it was Dean's mask. I went and looked it up. That was the mask that Dean wore, because they were all just a little bit different. And he sets it down in the middle between them both, and they put the fists out like the Shield of old. And they represented Dean, and they finally didn't do this thing where it was like, oh, like Dean Ambrose doesn't exist, like they had done for such a long time. They paid homage. They made the story come to a close after 14 years. 14 years almost, I think, maybe 12. Unbelievable. I couldn't have asked for anything better, and I loved every single second of it. Moving to the post-show of night 2. Chelsea Green on the post-show said, I'm dedicating this title to Michael Hayes. She is the freaking best ever. To shoot your shot like that and you win the title and you just shove, just probably one of the worst comments you can hear about being a professional wrestler, just up that person's ass, is awesome. And I don't like Michael Hayes to begin with, and I really didn't like him for that comment after he said it, and she just proved him wrong. She's proved so many people wrong. Again, super excited for her. I also think that SummerSlam was way better than WrestleMania, not even close. There has been no pay-per-view since I've started watching again that has made me feel this way. I haven't felt this kind of emotion since Survivor Series 2014. Legitimately. And I know that, like, if I would have watched Cody versus Roman and I would have known the whole story, it would have been the same. So, if that's how you feel about that match or maybe another match, understandable. I also, like, almost to that degree, felt the same way about the El Grande Americano versus El Grande Americano. Felt the exact same during that match. Like, it was this feeling of, like, you're almost floating on a cloud and, like, you have butterflies in your stomach and you don't want the match to ever end. I didn't want this PLE to ever end. The day 2 just absolutely killed it. Favorite pay-per-view in a really long time, potentially ever. This 2-day, like, weekend just made me remember how much I love professional wrestling. I haven't had a TV show or movie that has made me cry with so much joy like this in such a long time, besides Brand New Day. Let's calm down. But it wasn't even crying like this. Like, this was tears, like, literally streaming down my face. I looked ridiculous, and I couldn't believe it. Like, even afterwards, I was, like, laughing at myself because I'm, like, grown-ass man crying over professional wrestling. But seriously, like, that's how much it means to me. And that's how much it means to the fans, because WWE just has the most passionate fans ever. And as much as I like to bash on them, the reason that they care so much about the product and, like, how things are going is because they care. And that in itself is something that I think is pretty incredible. I loved SummerSlam. I absolutely loved it. Moving over to Raw really quick to wrap this up. Big Cass makes his return. He looks ripped. How do I feel about him debuting as a heel? I think it works. Big guy, ripped guy, a little bit scary looking. He doesn't have Enzo Amore there with him, so they can do, like, the whole soft thing. So it makes sense that he's debuting as a heel, and I think they maybe kind of need one over on Raw, like a big force to deal with. So Becky Lynch returns to confront Liv Morgan. I freaked out for that. And she says maybe the greatest line I've ever heard ever. You're not even the greatest world champion to sleep with Dominic Mysterio. Obviously referencing Rhea Ripley. Hilarious, dude. Stephanie Vaquer then returns. This woman's heavyweight title. This is heating up. Like, we've had nothing for 100 days. She beats Io Sky. Obviously, they were planning on Liv holding this for a little while longer if they're going to put Becky Lynch into the mix. Who even I've been saying, like, we need to get Becky out of the Intercontinental Championship like area because she needs to go to the main title scene. I've been saying that. And then, of course, now you get Stephanie Vaquer to return. Money in the Bank. We could potentially be looking at Stephanie Vaquer versus Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan for the Women's Heavyweight Championship. How sick would that be? Braun Breaker versus Oba Femi share a moment. This would feed families. If they go forward with this idea of Oba claiming that he's the leader of the new generation, which is what he came out with on the mic, this would be an interesting story because Braun Breaker probably feels like he's the person that is leading this new generation. And so these two going at it would make so much sense. So much sense. They look like two absolute powerhouses. Like, this would draw a crowd. I'm loving it. And also, Bronson Reed is due to come back. This isn't official, but I remember the timeline being 9 months. We're coming up on the 9-month mark. So if Bronson Reed were to come back at some point here soon, I would not be shocked. Jacob Fatu versus Royce Keys. Very solid, street fight. Royce leaves in a stretcher. Where's this leading? I obviously think that Jacob versus Royce Keys is going to be a feud that they run almost all year because you don't want to just put Jacob immediately into the title scene. And Royce Keys' kind of only tie with someone right now is with Jacob Fatu. So I think it's going to be a few weeks. We don't see Royce Keys, and then he's going to make his return and attack Jacob and maybe the Usos. And maybe we're going to run back Jacob versus Royce again, maybe at like a Money in the Bank or something of that sort. Final thing on here. Roman Reigns is asked to talk with the new manager of AAA, a.k.a. Rey Mysterio. Are we going to get a Roman appearance at AAA? Maybe even a match? Like, what would that even look like? This was something like out of a Marvel movie where it's like they play the end credits and all of a sudden it's like cutscene. Nick Fury talking about putting together the Avengers. Ant-Man going through the quantum realm and finally coming out of it. You know, all these different things, all these different moments that we've had in Marvel. That's what this felt like. It was like, hey, come talk to me. I got an opportunity for you. The AAA manager. The reason they're doing this is because AEW All Out is on the exact same day as AAA. So they're obviously going to try and draw some eyes away. I know what they're doing. It's pretty obvious. I'll be watching AAA just because, that's got my boy in it. That's got all the people I like. El Grande Americano, Dominic Mysterio. Potentially Roman Reigns is going to be there. Maybe even wrestling a match. Like someone he could go against. Like what if you did like Roman Reigns versus Omos or something like that? There's so many people he could go against. That would be really cool. Maybe it's just an appearance to talk about whatever and he has a moment with someone like he's some sort of celebrity. But if he were to wrestle a match, I think that would really get some eyes. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the final topic on today's weekly review. I appreciate you guys for joining me. I'm going to be back here next week. I don't really know what we're going to be touching on. There wasn't a lot of like other random questions in here just because there was so much to cover from SummerSlam. And I really hope you guys enjoyed SummerSlam. If you want to do me a favor, go down in the comment section. Give me like your review. Like what was your favorite moment, your favorite match, underrated match, just literally anything from SummerSlam. I'd love to talk with you guys about it. If you also want to do me a favor while you're down there, like, subscribe, maybe hit that little bell. If you're listening on Spotify, go ahead and follow the podcast and rate the podcast. Helps me out a lot. And other than that, I don't have anything for you guys. So stay safe and stay happy, my friends. I hope you have a wonderful day.